Hello and welcome to the ROKER Report Podcast in association with Vaux Brewery. Today we're joined by a very special guest who formed part of a record-breaking Sunderland defence in 1998 to 1999 and formed a formidable partnership with the likes of Andy Melville and Steve Bould. Welcome to the show, Paul Butler. How are you doing, Paul? You well?
Yeah, good. Apart from the 4-hour drive up, but good. Yeah, it was I won't go the A19 again, but no.
Stuck in traffic?
It's traffic A19. I understand now why they call them the smog monsters down that side, don't they? So it's not a nice drive, that A19.
No, it's really not. I want to start off on what you're doing at the moment. Normally we start in a different order, but we were having a bit of a chat off air, and I believe you're doing some grassroots stuff at the moment.
Yeah, I'm busy at the moment. I've run my own college. I've done that 4 years now, 16 to 18s. So from that, they're not going to be footballers in the sense of professional footballers, but what they do A-levels, B-Techs, and then they go to America at the age of 18. So I've been part of that 4 years. I've 16 to 18 lads I've had out into America, so pathway of doing that. I do that Monday, Tuesday and a Wednesday, which I enjoy the coaching and doing that involved. And then I do the recruitment for Liverpool. I've been Man City 5 years prior to that, doing 14s to 18s. Left them 2 years ago because one thing and another, in the sense of, it's a long story, could probably take another podcast to do it, but a long story. Being a City fan, it was hard to leave, but I had to leave to progress me. And then I moved across to Liverpool and loving it 2 years now, and working with 18s, 21s, 23-year-olds that were identifying and going all around the world looking at players. And on top of that, I'm ambassador of a grassroots club, so I've always been involved in grassroots since my kids have gone through it, and see how vital it is to raise money for them, because as much as the FA tell you the money's out there, the money's not out there.
No.
And they'll give you a grant every 2 or 3 years, but if you want to raise 6, 8s and 10s girls teams, you've got to put your hand in your pocket and raise it yourself, and that's what we've been doing. Yeah.
Is there a way that people can donate?
There is a way, but what we try to do on the charity side, we use a WhatsApp group.
Yeah,
we find it a lot easier than actually going out to the charity, and it's mental. But we try and use a WhatsApp group. So anybody that wants to contact me through my Facebook, I'll give them the lead through my own Facebook. So if you send me, I've got hundreds now of Sunderland fans. I've constantly, over the past 5 years, I've gone on Facebook. And my sons, who were 23 and 21, like, Dad, you should go on Facebook. I said, I don't want to go on Facebook. And anyway, 4 or 5 years ago, I'm on Facebook now. So anybody wants to send me a friend's request, and I'll send them the details that way.
Perfect. Good, mate. We'll start with a nice, easy one. Although I say this is an easy one, and everyone I've asked has gone, that's a difficult one. But it was a good drinking squad, as I know from speaking to a few people. But who was the best? Who's the best drinker in the entire
player or
squad?
Staff?
Either. We'll take either.
I couldn't go into the staff, but we had a good bond where the players would go out with the staff as well. So it was brilliant. That's why we were so good. But everyone probably says the same with it all. Quinny was up there. Andy Melville was up there.
That surprised me, Mel.
Yeah, Mel was up there. Who else would have been in that squad? Mel, Dickie Ord would have been up there at the time.
Dickie Ord doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and I'll probably come a close third or fourth.
Yeah. Apparently Kevin Phillips was better than you
Kev was
think.
a secret assassin. He was on a pitch.
Yeah.
You won't see how many he was drinking, but he'd put a few away.
Put a few away the other week. We did a talk in, and it surprises me how quick he can put them away for his size.
For his size, yeah, he puts them away. The worst drinker's probably Mickey Gray.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
2 pints, you fall asleep, and then wake up 3 hours afterwards. That's typical Mickey.
We'll go back to like 1998 when you joined. I think we were just talking off air before you joined the same day as Tommy Sorensen. As a fan, I remember quite well, we narrowly missed out on promotion at the Premier League. Reidy's looking for, basically, as far as I remember, he had Craddock and Williams, and I think he wanted someone who was tough, uncompromising, and obviously looked towards yourself, which I think are the embodiment of probably those words at the time. How did the move come about?
The move come around, it was a strange one. I remember playing twice against Sunderland that season for Bury.
Yeah.
And I did okay against Quinny. Do you know what I mean? You look forward, you go, now Quinn, Ireland legend, you get up for them games. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And at the time, we knew Kev had scored goals, but Quinny was the one you want to play well against Quinny, and you want to try and... But it was a strange scenario, really, because Peter Reid used to come down quite a lot to Bury. He wasn't up here all the time in Sunderland. When he wasn't training up here, had days off, Reid would come and still train at Bury. Like the end of his Man City career, he went and trained in at Bury with Stan Tennant, and Sam Ellis was his old number 2, was Stan Tennant's number 2 at the time.
Right, Stan Tennant
so Reidy always used to keep his fitness up by coming in the odd day, Monday, Tuesday, when I was at Bury and training. It'd be random, once every month. But I didn't realise, talking to his brother Sean Reid, he was watching certain players, as well as training with us at the time, which was you probably couldn't do that now. A manager of a Premiership team training with, and then identify him. But that was through the season. So when we played against each other, nothing was said, nothing was spoken about. Come end of the season at Bury, I had 1 year to go, and Charlton had offered money for me, so I went to the playoff final, and on the principle I was going to sign for Charlton.
So you were at the 98 playoff
I was
final.
at the playoff final, and I was sat in the director's box as a Charlton guest. And fast forward it, went to the toilet half time, bumped into Sean Reid. The rest is history, as I would say.
So you're due to go to the Premiership.
I was due to go to the Premiership with Charlton, and then when the penalties finished, I'd already agreed at half time on the phone to my agent, who was in London, after speaking to Sean Reid, that there was an interest from Sunderland. And as soon as you seen the Sunderland fans, it was like, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah. Good.
And that was it. And that was the honest truth of it all. And you didn't realise I just turned the Premiership down. Mrs. went, what are you doing? I went, I know, but it's London. I already 2 moves down to Wimbledon before that. And who else was involved? It was around the time I was sniffing another London club at Fulham, I think it was, something like that. I turned moves down because I didn't fancy London in a sense. But when Sean Reid pulled us, and I didn't even speak to the missus, and I spoke to my agent, I went, get the deal on if we can. Well, what score is it? I went, I can't remember the score at half time. It was like 2-2 or whatever. I don't know what
it was. Actually only 1-0 to Charlton at the time, funnily enough.
I said, it doesn't matter what it's going to be. Let's get the deal on. And it was done. And then literally 2 days after the playoff final, my agent flew up from London. I drove up and I signed the contract at the Stadium of Light.
I think if I was watching that game as a neutral, I would have been put off by the gold strip.
But it was the fan base. It was a fan base in the stadium, and because I'd been here with Bury in the season, and I played against Quinn and I seen the squad, and I thought, some players in that squad, and not knocking the Charlton squad at the time, but I was going to go in and play alongside Mark Fish and that at the time. That's
Mark
what
Fish, South African.
That's what they was going to partner me with, and that way. So. And basically, when Reid didn't even speak to me, it was Sean Reid had done most of the deal. I come up and signed, and Reid just turned around. I said to me, he says, "Do you know why I brought you in?" And I went, "I've got an idea." I says, "But you still got to go out and prove pre-season why I brought you in."
Yeah.
And I went, "Right, what do you want me to do?" He said, "Just do what you do at better. Just defend. I want you to defend." I said, "Right, no problem. We'll do that." And that's how it went. So
with Reidy, I think a lot of people ask about impressions of Reidy, but the more people I speak to from that era, the more people mention to me Bobby Saxton. Like, how much of a character was Bobby Saxton?
Bobby was everything about Sunderland. Everything that was good and everything that was positive and everything that players owe their career to, especially me, in a sense of he moved me to the next level and told me untruths and told me how it is. And he spoke to you like a dad or a big brother. And he told you how it was. And I think he won't be able to work in today's society the way it is, the way HR is and stuff like that at the clubs, because you won't get away with some of the stuff Bob used to call you. But you used to man up. You have to man up. Simple as that. And Bobby told you straight away, and I like that in a coach. But Bobby was everything. Bobby was everything. He was the comfort blanket for the gaffer sometimes when gaffer needed to go and have a break for 2 or 3 days away from the squad. Sacko took training for 2 or 3 days. But we had very good coaches underneath him as well. Like Pop Robson was underneath there, and Ricky Sprays was underneath there, and Adrian Heath was underneath there. Andy King, God bless his soul. Reidy had created a tremendous staff underneath him that sometimes he didn't have to be he knew the staff would click on, but Sacko ran that group. He ran that. He was strong, and you could go and speak to him. You get an answer off him straight away. Whether he wanted a day off or not, you get to tell you. But no, he was top man, and I still speak to him now.
Thing is, with the squad at the time, I suppose, as you said, you came in and actually didn't know, but you obviously had to play a final, so you probably would have heard, later on, Quinny coming out on TV and saying, we're going to go and win that league and stuff like that on the TV. But although there was yourself and Tommy Sorensen that came in as like the fresh blood, shall we say, the rest of the squad kind of stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah, he didn't need much tinkering. I think what Reidy looked at was I think Lionel Perez was leaving anyway. There's some issue with him anyway, and he was leaving. So we needed a keeper. To go and get Tommy was a find of whatever. You talk about Kev.
Brilliant.
You talk about Kev, 400-500 grand. Tommy will push him close for the value.
Wasn't it?
Just a bit under than that. And then Jerry Harrison come in, if you remember Jerry Harrison.
I remember Jerry Harrison.
Had a health issue at the time, which nobody knew about. And to be fair, he got ridiculed for it, even off the players, because he pulled out. And then there was that. I think that's somebody who brought Lee Clark in, was it?
Clarkey was the season before. Clarkey broke his leg opening day of the season, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it wasn't too much, but the squad didn't need thinking. I know it was full of quality, and there was quality sat in the stands as well. So really, just needed a bit in the spine, really, a keeper, and someone that's had been at this level probably a couple of years and just knew what you were going to get.
You came from, it was a good Bury side from my memory. I mean, unfortunately, a club that's hopefully not gone permanently, but gone at the moment. But I remember the side then, it was probably the best Bury side of the past 20 years. But coming from Bury and a good Bury side with good players, good characters, and coming to Sunderland, could you feel the level of character in the squad even the first few weeks that you were there? Because, looking back now, we had some real character and proper leaders in that team.
Because like he's saying, he was touched on it then. So Dean Carley was our keeper at Bury at the time.
Yeah.
And I think because I didn't go to Charlton, it was 2 years after he signed him. But we had David Johnson up front. But the magic one of it all and kept us. There was 2 players that kept us all together. Was Andy Gray. Remember Andy Gray that played for Crystal Palace, international lad, midfield lad. He played up to Falkirk.
I don't.
He played it for England about 4 or 5 times. Big mates of Ian Bright and Wright. Played at the Palace. Played a lot of games like that. And Stretch, Gordon Armstrong coming. He come in and he was a major signing for us and told me all about Sunderland all the way through the season. So I don't know if he was working to be an agent then. But no,
he's an agent now.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, he's always on the phone to me. So yeah, so when I arrived, dressing rooms are the same whether it's a Premiership or Conference.
Yeah,
the banter's the same. It's ruthless. You get stick. The names are bigger. Obviously, your Nicky Summerby's of this world's in there, and your Kevin Bowles and your Niall Quinns and Alan Johnsons and Mickey Grays, all international players. They're all in there, and the cards are a lot bigger. That's the difference.
Especially Mickey Grays.
Mickey changed it every week. But as banter goes, no, I was a strong character, and when I was in Rochdale in my early career and went to Bury, I enjoyed the dressing room.
Yeah.
I wasn't one that feared the dressing room going every morning. I enjoyed it, and if you was to get like slagged off from it, what gear you're wearing. Embrace it, grow up, that's what it's part of.
Who's the worst dressed?
Worst dressed would have probably been Quinny.
I knew you were going to say
horrendous stuff, but it's an easy target, Quinny. He used to wear jackets that didn't fit him, and Alex Ray used to ram him every day. But probably the worst dressed, on top of taking Quinny out of the way, might have been probably Deitch, some of the tracksuits he'd wear.
Deitch. The DJ, wasn't it?
Yeah, because Deitch was the DJ and he'd come in with horrendous tracksuits that he was still in, thinks he was in Run DMC or something, and he was caps on this way. But that's in trainers. So Deitch, it was good dressed to Deitch, but some of the gear he wore in training.
Questionable.
Very questionable.
You started the season alongside someone who ended up having a really good career at Sunderland, and he was having a good career up to that point. Jody Craddock, obviously, and I think you were brought in to play alongside Jody, maybe. Use Darren as more like a Darren Williams, that is more like a versatile player that can play right back, left back, centre off, in goal if he really wanted to do Darren Williams. But second game in, Craddock got injured and Andy Melville came in, and I know it was only the one season that you had, but it was probably Andy Melville's best. What is it that suited your game and Melville's game so well? Because you did pair together really well. You couldn't really change it.
It was a strange one really, because when I arrived, Mel was there. I knew who Andy Melville was, and I knew who Dickie was, and obviously the gaffer Reidy at the time wasn't using him. So, but they only had 1 year of contract to go, and they'd already been told they can leave, so they wasn't using him. But the thing is, what Reidy used to do, and he was brilliant, is he never shunned him. He never put him out anywhere. Do you know what I mean? He still trained with us. He didn't do what you call a bomb squad. He didn't. He kept him in because he knew that they were influential in the dressing room still. Do you know what I mean? If you didn't want them to being bad apples coming in the dressing room. So Mel and Dickie were different class towards me, helping me settle in at the club. So when Jody when he was injured in the second game, Mel was up to speed in reserve games that he'd played, training. So Mel was a total different character to me in the sense where Mel would let me go and defend. and he'd let me attack first balls, and he'd let me go and smash somebody, and he'd sweep up behind me. And Mel was a great calming influence on that. A few years older than me. Where when I played with Jody wanted to be the young one that wanted to go and do it. So I had to adapt my game a bit to Jody, which I could do. But then Mel was the one that wanted to come out and play from the back. And at Bury at the time, we never done that. So I was learning during the game how he was doing it. So I pick up a hell of a lot from Mel. And then he just hit straight away. He come in, and I think we got a clean sheet first game, and we went on from there, basically. And
Tranmere, wasn't it? You scored no? 5th?
Yeah.
I think
5-0,
my memory says
4 5-0, something like that. We beat them
5-0.
I think. I scored a diving head in.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think I was coming back from a corner to still stay up there for that one. I don't know how I was up there.
Smith.
That's it. Yeah,
put it in.
Whipped it in. Yeah.
Smithy put it in, and I think I'm sure it was the 5th. Me memories.
Yeah, it was on Facebook the other week. I reposted it. Someone put it on.
That's right.
And then I reposted it, so I forgot all about that goal. But now there. So from that, we blended, and it was something that we never worked on in training, kind of thing. Even though we had a lot of 11v11s every day, but I just knew my strengths, and Mel just let me get on with it.
There was a lot of partnerships in that team. I mean, if you look right across the team that won that league, you had yourself and Andy Melville, almost called him Mary there. You had Mickey Gray and Magic Johnson. Yeah. You had Summerby, Chris Macon, Quinn Phillips, and then you had a choice of Bally, Clarkey, or Alex Ray in the middle.
Right. I mean, and then you had young Gav McCann that was just coming into it as well, and Gav gave us legs in there, and
great player, Gav McCann.
And you had Gav that come in, and you also had what's it called? Come from Burnley. Big nose on him.
Oh, John Mullen.
Mullers, yeah. I still speak to Mullers now, and if he hears this, he won't be happy with that. But no, Muller's coming. So they give us the freshness in there. And underneath that, biting at there was Paul Furwell. He was chomping at. He was 17, 18, but he could, in 11v11s, you could put yourself around a bit first. So it was the new brace.
Yeah.
So we had competition all over the place, and as well as me and Bally in there, you still had Darren Williams that wanted to play, and he was left out. Jody was coming back from injury. Darren Holloway could play centre half, stroke right back. Who else was in there? Martin Scott. You had up front Bridges, and Deitch was understudy to Quinny and Kev. So we had a really, really good, strong 18, 19 players that on any given day, we knew if we had a bad game, we'd pull you out and you were in. So
slightly depressing reading out that squad now.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a competitive squad, but a squad that got on with each other.
Yeah,
an all British base, which was even interesting.
It was. I mean, I think a lot of the time, I remember David Moyes made a comment about having a British core and then played an Irishman, which was funny. But there was a really strong core of players that seemed to have an idea of each other's personalities and the banter that would exist right from the manager all the way down.
It was driven by Sacko. We go back to Sacko again, and the gaffer Reidy. They was adamant that you needed a good dressing room, a strong dressing room of characters in there, a mixture of the youth that would drive you on. But also, you needed leaders in there, and we had enough of them. Alex Ray was a character in there. He drove most of the dressing room mad. Not drove us mad. But the most of us in there was captains at other clubs, or we'd been captains. So, but Bally was the captain. We knew that what Bally done. If Bally had run through the brick wall for you, you'd follow him.
Yeah,
and that's the way he had us, and that's the way Sacko would want you doing. So. Yeah, we had our tiffs, we had our fights, we had our arguments, we had a lot of Sterling and what's going on now with Gomez, a lot of them on the training grounds and in the dressing rooms. Just get on with it.
I think, I can't remember who it was I spoke to, but someone said, I get the feeling that might have been Alex Ray when he did the talking with Quinny at the stadium, and he said the thing is there sometimes would be a lot of arguing between each other, and there'd be a bit of, as you said, Gomez and Sterling sort of going on. But if anyone did that towards, I think it was Darryl Powell he was talking about. Yeah. If anyone did that to one of us, it was the entire team you were taking on. You weren't just taking on one player.
That was a derby game when Darryl Powell came through.
Yeah, at half time when Reidy had his shirt off.
And then he jumped behind me, and he went, you saw that man in the bar afterwards when his dad's come in looking for him. And it's funny. So, been going all day. He's got some stories, Al, on him. But no, he'd wind people up, Al. But he's a Glaswegian lad. He'd look after himself.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't fancy getting involved in a fight with him. Remember him fighting with Andy Cole.
Alex would fight with himself.
Yeah,
put it one way. Do you know what I mean? He'd fight with himself. So no, but we had a strong dressing room, and that was what driven us on, really, the dressing room and the pressure of the dressing room, players that wasn't playing. And when the reserves used to get played at the Stadium of Light and there's 20,000 in there watching the reserves play, you're going, they're not bad away, them. And then the odd game, me and Mel would get rested. Darren Williams would come in with Jody and beat Chelsea 5-0 or something. Do you know what I mean? We didn't play that day, we were suspended.
Funny, yeah.
So
you and Steve Bould.
That was the kind of calibre of players he had in the squad.
It's funny that game, you talk about the Chelsea game, and it's like, Joe, you and Steve Bould, I think Steve Bould got a yellow card against Borough, so he was suspended. Right, you were suspended, and then you also had, I can't remember the midfield now, but it was, I think Alex Ray.
Yeah, I think Muller's played in there, didn't he? Or something like that. We had about 4 players that year.
Paul Thurwell, Eric Waugh, as it was.
Eric Waugh,
Or Roy.
Eric Roy, as we called him, because he was from down south and he wasn't French. He's never been French.
Very underrated was Eric Roy.
Good player.
Yeah,
great player. He took him a while to understand the English game, but clever player as well.
Yeah.
Understood. And nasty as well.
Yeah.
He could leave his footing.
Yeah.
He could leave his footing. But I enjoyed him. And then I only spoke to him this morning, Stephen Sports.
Schwartzy.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's constantly supporting my grassroots stuff. He sends me messages, he sends me stuff. He's a fantastic guy. He's doing a lot for Benfica and stuff like that.
Lovely man.
But they were the characters really brought in.
Yeah.
But the year we went up, it's momentum. And I spoke to someone the other day about momentum and how do you stop it and how do you start it. Once it's coming for you and once you get that ball rolling, and Reidy always said to us, once you get this juggernaut going of Sunderland, you're not going to stop it.
Yeah.
And we fully believed in that. And Sacko used to send me and Mal out and Tommy Sorensen and basically say, your job is clean sheet. That's it. You know we're going to score goals. So keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
So if someone scores, we're blaming you free. And that was the responsibility he had put on you. So you knew that Kevin Quinney were going to score, or Magic could score, or Nicky'd whip one in from 40 yards out or something, or Alex Ray would score, or Bally'd get a tap in or break his nose and score that way, you know. But we knew our job was basically is to defend, and that's not so much Mickey Gray defending. Mickey will let Mickey go because you're making sats. So we always used to defend as a free. So Mickey Watted always used to go and go and go. Chrissy used to just back up Nicky Summerby, and it was always me and Bally sat in front. So it was the 4 of us that patrolled quite a lot of it. But that was our job. And when we conceded, it was horrible. Might have been 4-1. It was horrible in the dressing room because you seen the one end of the dressing room where Quinney and Kev have got 2 each, and you're sat at the other end and you're going, that's a clean sheet. And Tommy would be going berserk if he conceded because he wanted clean sheets every week.
Broke the clean sheet record that season.
Yeah, I think we got 27, 28, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's not bad, is it? Out of 46.
Yeah. Was it good? It would have been 13, 14, then it was a decent childhood.
I think we only conceded 2 goals once in that season.
Yeah.
I think so, something like that. I think it was 2-2 draw. I think we'd done.
Watford maybe maximum, I think, got
I think that's what it was. But no, it was good. But it was right from the front to the back. I know we always go cliche, well, Kevin, Quinney, but you're only as good as your strikers.
Yeah.
And if them 2 didn't perform, which they always did, you had Mickey Bridges and Deitch on the bench to come on.
Thing is, I'm talking about like the past, but I suppose also the future as well. I wanted to ask something in a sense. People talk an awful lot about the expectations of Sunderland fans, right?
Yeah.
Now, it hasn't changed in the past couple of years or the past 10 years or whatever. But what frustrates me is that sometimes you think people think our expectations are too high. We're in League One, which annoys me. But how did a team like yourself who had huge expectations to go up, not just, go up in the first top 2, the fans thought we'll finish third with 90 points, want to win the league. And to say you matched those expectations, you exceeded them because we lost 3 games.
Yeah.
Like, why is it that team could handle the expectation and exceed it, whereas teams since, and maybe teams before, just seem to wilt?
It's hard because the expectations to go up, and I say this after I left because I went to Wolves and they'd been up for 20 odd years in the Premiership. And the expectations to go, you could feel it when you walk through the door at Wolves. When I first arrived at Sunderland, I couldn't feel no expectation. The lads they'd been beating a playoff final, but the atmosphere in the dressing room, first day of pre-season, driven by Bally and the senior players of Niall Quinn and that was right, we'll go again.
Yeah.
And me arriving, Tommy Sorensen arriving, might have given him a lift, but we weren't guaranteed We had to go out pre-season and earn it because Reidy didn't know how well I'd cope with 40-odd thousand from going from Bury of 7,000.
Yeah.
Different style of football. But it wasn't so much of a gamble to bring me and Tommy in, but it was an educated gamble in a sense where we needed an out-and-out defender that comes in and just defends it and defends the box. And it's them 1-0 games that year, if you can have a look back on, we want many of them, but the 1-0 games we take more pride off than the 3 or 4-0 wins because the 1-0 games are close and we've had to do some defending in it, and that's what you want. But the expectations, you're not a big club, you're not a Premiership club. Just live with it.
Yeah.
Just get on with it. I know it's hard, but I think the way kids are brought up now through academies, and I've been at Man City 5 years, Liverpool 2 years, they don't get brought up at 15, 16 knowing what jobs you should be doing as an apprentice. They get brought up wanting to pick the first car at 17. What kind of car am I driving? They haven't kicked a ball in the 23s.
Yeah.
And them expectations are driven by agents who are in the game. Listen, there's some bad agents, but there's some good agents. But expectations for Sunderland, get on with it. It's a big club. It's a big club. I understand if I can go back 22 years, I'd sign again and the expectations be had again. Just got to go with it. Got to live it. And the person sat next to you in the dressing room wants your place.
Yeah.
So if you don't deliver, you're out the same.
And just going through the team there. I mean, even when we just went through the subs, there was such a...
Yeah, we had depth in there, but we had character and we had a togetherness, and no one was bitter about not being in it. Yeah, lads were disappointed, don't get me wrong. Everyone wanted to play in front of 40,000 at Stadium of Light on a Saturday. But it was a typical... If you see the rugby lads on telly when they all high-five each other and the other subs in the tunnel when they're walking out, very atmosphere. All the subs are always down. Really had everyone involved. It wasn't... Right, this is the squad of, that was only 5 subs at the time. This is the squad of 16. No, 20 odd of you all come down to the dressing room. And then when he named the team, which he mostly did on the Saturday, you didn't know most of the time until the Saturday, the lads who were in the suits and one in the 16 went round and shook everyone's hand.
Yeah.
And that's how it was done.
Proper togetherness.
Yeah, and then they went up in the players' lounge, waited up there, come back down after the game, shook our hands again. And that was it. That's how it was done.
Talking about that particular season, one thing that's just kind of triggered in my mind there, do you find it quite weird that we won the league at Bury, considering you came from
It was
Bury?
a way... I'd looked at it about 3 or 4 games earlier.
Yeah.
And I'd kept in touch with Bury. I still speak to the lads. I played in the charity match 3 weeks ago to raise money for them. So I done all that and I went back. And it's close to my heart, Bury Football Club. And it's just shambles what's going on with that place. But to go back there, I'm thinking to myself, they needed the points.
Yeah, because they were like near the... They were kind of near
they were near the bottom, about 4th from bottom at the time. They needed the points, and I think Sunderland had 3 sides of the ground that night. It was a Tuesday night. It was absolutely teeming down. And I thought to myself, you don't want Sunderland coming to you when you need points, because we were just playing games on a Saturday, off Sunday, Monday morning, light training session, game, win. Off Wednesday, light training session Thursday, bit of set pieces Friday, win on Saturday. And it was just a momentum of rolling and rolling and rolling. And you couldn't wait for the games. That's how quick they could. So to go to Bury, I think it was 5-2 or 5-2. 5-2.
4-1 up by half.
They were one of the clubs that scored 2 against us, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Darren Bullock, if I remember rightly.
But it was a weird scenario because the Bury fans stayed behind afterwards and clapped us as well, which was good. And I enjoyed that. And Reidy, it was not one I'd say I enjoyed in a sense, because I think Bury went down, did they? Did they go down that season?
I can't quite remember, but
it wasn't through that game, but they'd done enough anyway to go down. But no, it was a surreal game. I spoke to some of the lads. I even went in the dressing room before the game, to the Bury dressing room, and to see him. And Reidy caught me go walking in, and he went, "Get out!" Do you know what I mean? What are you doing in there? So just go and see how they are, and that's how it was done. But no, 5-2. But listen, we were creating 9-10 chances a game.
Yeah.
And Kev only needs 1.
Yeah.
That's a bit. And if you've seen some of his goals that night, do you see some of his finishes?
Oh, the 5th one.
Me and Mel always had the best seat in the house. We was always stood 40 yards behind him, watching him going. And as soon as he left his foot, me and Mel used to say, "It's a goal."
That one against Barnsley, when he just 90th minute.
There's so many. But you'd watch him in training, and he'd stay behind, and he'd smash a few balls, and you go in. He just had a technique, and if you've got Kevin here now, he probably wouldn't know how to coach that.
Yeah.
He'd probably show you how he did it, but he's got such a low centre of gravity in how he strikes a ball, and the power he can generate in a ball was like but every time he'd have a shot, he went in that year, and the year after, and the year after, and the year after.
And you sometimes forget with Phillips, he got 25 goals that year, and he was out for 3.5 months.
Yeah, he was out for a while.
3.5
because all our strikers, I think Deitch and Mickey Bridges got double figures that year.
12 or 14 or something like that.
And Big Niall got a few.
20 odd.
So I think the front lot at the time got close to 60, 65 goals.
Yeah.
And that's the way Sacko used to put a board up at the start of the season. And he wanted so many goals from the strikers, so many goals from midfield, and so many goals from centre-halves and full-backs. And you had to contribute. And I think from full-backs and centre-halves, I think he wanted between 10 and 15 goals in a season. Yeah. And that season, I think, got 5 or 6. Mel got 4 or 5. Mickey got 3 or 4. And Chrissy got 1 or something, the odd one. Like
Chrissy was the only one that didn't score that season. I think that's where
so we contributed not, but he wanted us all to score and contribute. And that was a big thing, yeah.
The season afterwards, talked about Melville. Obviously, great partnership, but then I have to be honest, in my lifetime, I think the season after, the person that replaced him was probably the best centre-half I've personally ever seen for Sunderland.
Yeah.
But how big of an impact was Steve Bold as a character, person, and a player to you?
He was when Mel knew he was going anyway. Mel knew it was his last year. Reidy had pulled him in February, March time, before the end of the season, knew he was going. So there was no hard things about Mel going in, and he knew he was going to bring centre-half in. Now that summer, we went up, Reidy pulled us in, and he said to us, I'm bringing 2 centre-halves in, maybe 3. So I went, yeah, not a problem. He says, we need 4 centre-halves in the Premiership. Simple as that, we need 4 centre-halves. I went, right, okay. Didn't tell me who it was. Then when I seen it was linked to Steve Bold, I'm going, jeez, I've got to even be on the same training ground as him. I want to be in the same back fours as him. So we signed Boulder, and then we signed Thomas Elmer in the same week.
Jeez, yeah.
German international, 70-odd caps, absolutely legend, and one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet in football. Unbelievable guy, and just so. I was the only player that played 3 or 4 games with him. He only played that many, and I played all the games with him.
Leeds, I think
learned
it was.
So much of him, so much of a player that if you stood in here now, you go, he's not centre half.
Yeah,
he's not going to. He was different class, a bit like Dennis Irwin. I went to Wolves and Dennis joined us. He was just cultured, everything, but he couldn't settle. His family couldn't settle, and he hung around on his own here for 6-7 months. His family went back. But going back to Baldy, a funny story that we were on the training ground, and we used to do a lot of 11v11s, Reidy and Sacko in the Championship. So he kept the same thing going. So we're having 11v11, and Sacko always used to referee it, and he was the worst referee you're ever going to get. If you thought he was offside, he's onside. If you think he's onside, he's offside. Everything just to wind you up, to see what your reaction was like, and it's a thing he used to do. Baldy wasn't not having him. Baldy loved him. Baldy wasn't having his decisions some days in training. So I'd gone into the back 4 with Baldy, and it was like, and I'm looking across, and Steve Bold's there, and he going, God, he's got the presence of Quinny.
Yeah.
Do you know that stature? And he going, it's Baldy. And I'm watching up, drop, squeeze, drop, and that's all he was doing. Get your arm up, drop, and this is in training. So he kept playing. We was playing Mickey Bridges and Deitch offside all the time in training, and it was just him catching them all the time. And Sacko stopped training, and he went, right, stop. I don't want you playing offside anymore. So Baldy went, why? I'm catching him. Yeah, but you're going to get caught in the Premiership. It's going to happen. You're going to get caught. You put your hand up, it's going to get caught. I've been at Arsenal for 10 years, and we played offside and catch everyone offside. So we're outside. We're not having it. And it was a bit of a heated argument there between. And we're all stood there going, and then we've seen the gaffer Reidy walk down the touchline going, who's going to win this one? Because no one's backing off. So I went, Baldy, I said, just let's do it for this trip. We'll drop off. No, we don't drop off. We'll hold the line, and that's how it went for about 5-10 minutes. Yeah. And the next thing, whistle went, read it, right, everyone in. And that was it. Then they stopped the training session. So I don't know who ever won that argument. So
I'm going to say Sacko.
But Sacko, that's Sacko down to a T where doesn't matter about Steve Bold being at Arsenal for 10 years. You defend how Sacko wants you to defend.
Yeah.
And that's how it was, and that's how he'd put it on the plate. And Baldy loved Sacko, absolutely loved him, because he'd never had anything like that at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And to come across Sacko like that, and it was brilliant watching them all. And I think that might be Sacko testing him to see what he was like.
See if he broke.
And then I played a few games, all the games of Baldy, really, until he got arthritis in his toe. And he had the longest big toe in the world. Like, it was funny because I've got that due tonight when I do it at the museum. And Gordon Ellis, the old physio's coming along tonight. And there's many a morning we used to walk in the treatment room just to get some strappings on before training. and Baldy would lay on the bed with his foot up in the air, size 14 foot, and Gordon Ellis would have both his hands just rubbing his toe like that to try and get movement in it. And he couldn't train. He couldn't train certain days because it was so painful to put his foot in the boot. And then when they wheeled him out, as much as they did do Baldy, learned so much off the guy.
That's the thing. I mean, you forget, we brought him in 500,000. I think he was 37.
Yeah.
And he played like a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
He was the best.
He was different class. It's his position. And I'll never forget their one-chop game at West Ham. We headbutted him.
Yeah.
And before the game, it's funny enough, it's a true story. Before the game, I was in the dressing room at West Ham, and there'd been said, I don't know, between certain players in the team. It might have been Baldy and somebody else off West Ham's team. I can't remember who it was. Might be DeCanio. I can't remember who it was. And Baldy was fired up, and I've never seen him like that. And we knew that so much been said to him. So we've gone out on the pitch, and one chop's up front, and first 20 minutes, tacking it, dropping off, doing this and that. I've gone to head a ball, cleared it. Next, all I heard was the biggest slap, the sound of a slap, and I've gone, looked across, I thought, and all I seen was one chop's laid out on the floor. And I've gone, and I said to Chrissy Macon, what's happened there? He went, I didn't see it, I just heard the slap. So I turned around and said to Tommy, because the referee stopped it. I said to Tommy, what happened there? He went, Baldy's lost it, he's just headbutted him. And I went, he's headbutted it. It sounded like someone slapped someone's neck, he was that loud. And I went, why are you doing that, Baldy? He went, keep standing on my toe. He just keeps standing on my toe because he's got sore toes, hasn't he? And I went, that's not the only reason, is it? And till this day, he tells you that was the reason because his toes were that sore in games.
Yeah.
He kept backing into him and standing on his toes. And Baldy just had enough and headbutted him.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think we were 1-0 up, weren't we? And we drew 1 each, was it?
And Deitch give the ball away on the halfway line.
That's right, because we played really well.
If we'd won, we would have been top of the league.
That's correct, yeah.
We would have been top of the
league. We
league.
played really well, and with 10 men, they couldn't break us down. And
90th minute, I think it was.
And then afterwards, because all the London clubs we went to, we had to go to that Seven Sisters pub to meet about 5,000 Sunderland fans. It was brilliant. It was so good. Reidy made a point of us doing that. Going back to what we were doing before, is every London game we played, we knew we'd stay 2-3 hours afterwards to meet the fans. And we had to go off to this pub, and there'd be 2,000 or 3,000 waiting for us there. And we'd be drinking, having a chat with them, mixing it and reading. 8 o'clock, right, everyone on the bus, we're off back up the road.
And I remember as I was a kid, I mean, I'm about 13, 14, and I used to go and try and meet the players and afterwards get autographs. And you know, it's funny, my mum still speaks about it now. She's like, every player made sure that signed every autograph. There was no, even Mickey Gray.
Yeah, we were told to in a way. Not like really gets you in on your contract, right? In your contract, you've got to sign every...
Yeah.
You follow what the other lads were doing. So when I first arrived, they seen everyone coming out the training ground, the old training ground, everyone stopping the cars, and you'd be about an hour in the car waiting for to sign an autograph. You made sure you signed everything.
Yeah.
Because they're stood there in the rain, they're stood there in the cold, they're the supporters, it's their club when we leave. End of the day, 20 years from now, I can still come back, but it's still the same fans supporting, it's their club with their kids. You just got to come back support it. But no, Reidy made a point of no matter where we went, away from home, especially in London, down south, we stayed and signed the autographs that was needed.
Talking about good games, because we've talked about the Chelsea game before, but there's one game that I actually completely forgot about, in a sense, towards that season. And I don't know how I forgot about it, but the Newcastle game in the rain.
Yeah.
So early in the season. And I mean, I don't know quite how to word the question, but just what were your memories of the day?
The memories of the day was getting absolutely drenched. First time of seeing how high the Sunderland fans were put in the top tiers, and it was like, but you could hear them.
Wasn't many of us
the
that
big,
night either.
massive paper talk of Shearer and Hullett and all this, and Ferguson and all this, and Reidy was just basically, whoever's playing up front, they're going to be good players, so don't worry about who's playing. This was all talk. And then to go out and play in them conditions for one, which today wouldn't have been played. Wouldn't have been played. Iconic Kev goal again. Do you know what I mean? He's turned and flipped it. Everyone's thinking he's going to cross it in the box and put it in there. But just, it was wearing, I know it sounds stupid in a way, and the only thing that ever sticks to me, we didn't get to wear white shorts a lot.
Yeah.
And in that game, we wore white shorts. Do you know what I mean? And it's the iconic, when he's celebrating, but his shorts are virtually that long down his ankles, because how wet they are. And me and Bally looking at each other, do you know, going, we ain't got the energy to run down there and celebrate. We'll just stay up here, because Reidy always wanted you to celebrate with each other. And that was the iconic. And Quinny was putting his hands in the air, and shirts never fitted him. So it was up here around his waist, around his chest. And just and looking at Mickey Gray more than anything else. And we had an old physio or a masseur called Mickey Holland.
apparently the
massive
funniest
Newcastle
guy.
fan.
Oh, was he?
Oh yeah,
Apparently
biggest Newcastle fan ever. Massive Newcastle fan. He had a massive Newcastle tattoo on his right calf that he never wore short. He wore shorts all week. Come match day, tracky bottoms, right? And he always tried to protect it away from the fans, but they wouldn't ever go at him over it. But the funniest guy you're ever going to meet in your life. And that was another one. He was Reidy's chauffeur. He was like, wherever Reidy, we used to say to him, go on, Gaffer wants a cup of tea, go and do it. And he'd go off and do his stuff and all that. But he was a massive Newcastle fan. And on that day, sitting on the Sunderland bench, he'd come in at the end of the game and went, do you know what I mean? Being a Newcastle fan, you deserved it.
Yeah.
But you've done us all a favour because now obviously he might leave tomorrow.
Go. Yeah, he did as well.
Yeah, he was around the next day, didn't he?
Yeah,
because they brought Shearer and Duncan at the end, didn't they, to try and get some out of the game, didn't they?
And that's the one thing that people always talk about that, and they talk about, even from the day it happened, people talk about, if he started with Shearer and stuff like that. They were 1-0 up.
Correct.
And then they brought Ferguson on, we equalised. Yeah. Then they brought Shearer on, and then we got the winner.
Yeah, correct.
So technically, they
Bringing
lost them the game.
And that's what they say, and they can only answer that is, do you think they've chucked it in for him? I don't know, because they had issues with him, but only they can answer that. I don't know. Don't get involved in all that, but it was a strange scenario to bring him on. But no, great memories of beating Newcastle at St James's Park, which is good.
So Chuyo went out after that as well.
We'd had a few, yeah. Which Reidy made you have a few. He was not made you have a few, but he was, when you win, you celebrate.
Yeah.
But make sure we've got a game in 3 days, kind of scenario, and that's how we make. If you're not ready, and in training was tough. Yeah. Training was tough. If you go out the night before and think you get away with training, there's only one person that could do that, and that's Alex Ray.
Yeah.
And he got away with about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So, but no, it was tough and it was hard and it was tough, but you couldn't pull the wool over Sacko's, because they had spies everywhere. Yeah. They knew when every player was out.
The season after that, obviously we finished 7th. I think when you think back at that season, well, still frustration that we should have been in Europe.
Yeah, we should have. I think we only won one at the last 8 games. Did we something like that? I always remember fans when I was still playing here said that we chucked it in, or something on them lines. In one of the fanzines, there was a fanzines that was going out, and they were saying that we've chucked it in. We could have qualified. We tried everything we could to qualify, and Reidy did. And sometimes momentum don't get you in there.
Yeah,
but the thing is, we had the Golden Boot guy in the squad, which is a massive achievement for us. We beat some big teams on the way in the season. As an achievement to go into Europe, was we ready for Europe? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. That could have been a different hurdle for Reidy to sign more players at the time, and I don't know. So we never got it, but I couldn't tell you on that one. So I think Reidy had a squad for the Premier League and maybe a cup or two, but not
for a full.
But I know Reidy wanted to manage in Europe in a sense. So yeah. I don't know. It's just sometimes results go.
Just reminded me of that season as well. I think it was Kevin Phillips said a few times the biggest noise he's ever heard at a football ground was when he equalised against Newcastle at the Stadium Light. It was 2-2.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you remember the game? Yeah. How loud was that on the pitch? Because I remember
it was loud, and that was when the Newcastle fans were behind the goal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They got put behind the goal, so where they've been moved up to, the away fans now is at the top, but they put behind the goal. And I always like when you've got away fans, you can see them. It makes the atmosphere. But no, it was. But you could feel it coming in. It was an atmosphere in the game coming in during the day. And I remember in the first 5 minutes, I smashed Alan Shearer in the far corner in front of Sunderland fans. As I turned around to look at the Sunderland fans, they were grown men just like punching the chest, and trying on going, that gets you up for it straight away because you just done Alan. I didn't mean to do him. I just smashed him in the corner. The referee didn't even see it. So, and Shearer got up, unbelievable pro. Just went, shrugged his shoulders and went on with it.
Yeah.
So got me back later on in the game, but it was one of them. And that was my 5 minutes at home going to the Sunderland fans. This is what this team's going to be about today. They were still the so-called the big team, weren't they? Yeah. They thought they was, even though we had better players in our team. But
much better.
It was good, but good colours on the day. Do you want me to see red and white v black and white? I know it's like when Man City playing Man United, blue v the red.
Such a clash.
But then you've got the Newcastle fans behind the goal in their tops. It does that, and move them up there might be policing. I don't know, but I still like fans.
Part of me kind of misses it, and I think there's a few fans that doesn't really like them up there. It does. It's like I used to always sit right next to the away. I was always in Southwest corner, so it was always right next to them, and it was horrible when they'd score, and there's been many bad memories of it, but other way around.
Yeah, great atmosphere. But no, it can generate some noise. That stadium when it was, and I was lucky. I had 3.5 years of it, so it was a pleasure to play in the 3.5 years. When it come to me leaving, it was something that Reidy didn't want me to do.
Yeah.
But I got to a point where I'd been injured, and they brought big Stan in, the centre half. Yeah, Stan. Me and Stan had played. Jody come in. I was injured. Jody come in, but then he went to sign Emerson Tom. And it's the most. I love him to bits. He's an agent, and I do things for him, and he helps me out with stuff. So he's different class M.
Where is he now, Emerson Tom?
He's back in Portugal, but he's doing stuff for agencies in Brazil and all around. So. I'll give you his number if you want him.
I
saw that.
Love Emerson Tom.
M was different
hero,
class.
I think.
M was different class, but at the time I was saying to Reidy, I'm back in 2 weeks. I'm back in 2 weeks. Don't. And he needed to sign a centre half. He come in and done well in the first 4 or 5 games. Done well, and I've sat on the bench for 4 or 5 games. The back four's keeping clean sheets, so I can't knock on the gaffer's door and say, "Why am I not involved?" They were keeping clean sheets, but the way I've been brought up and the principle I brought, I needed to play. And I was playing reserve games, which he didn't want me to play in, the gaffer at the time. I was playing down at York. They used to play the reserve games down there, some games. And there was 4 or 5 championship clubs coming from me, Bolton, Blackburn, Wolves, wanting me to go on loan. Went to the gaffer and he went, I'll let you go, but you're only going for a month and I want a recall because I might need you back. So went out, played, loved it at Wolves, come back. Still won't let me go, even though I was trying to say, I'm not in you are in my plans. I've got no time to let you go. I need 4 centre halves. You're one of the 4. So me pushing it and wanting to play first team football, not wanting to sit on the bench. And I was 29, I think at the time, 28. It wasn't for me in the sense of just sitting there. I couldn't pick up my money every week and justify got to play at York or Durham in a reserve game. And he knew that. And he was putting me off a free. We had backwards and forwards arguments. Sacko was coming to me. I had Big Quinny saying to me, but I needed to play. And in hindsight, is it the right move for me? Yeah, because I went on and done great stuff with Wolves and I enjoyed my times and promoted into Premiership. If I hung on for another month, Emerson got injured in the next 3 games and I could have been back in. Hey, it's hindsight.
These things happen, don't they?
Yeah, and I went on to Leeds after that. So you never know. Do you know what I mean? It was one of them where I really enjoyed my time. I enjoyed my 3.5 years. My missus and the kids were born in Manchester, but brought up here. They were babies.
Yeah.
Loved it up here. Absolutely loved it up here. If you speak to my missus now, she'd move back tomorrow.
Yeah.
She'd move back tomorrow. We lived in Durham. Kids know bits about it, but they understand. But missus loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Paul, thank you very much.
No problem. Pleasure.
Perfect.